Hi, if you can't handle me at my factory paint, you don't deserve me at my vac metal. I'm Andrew, and this is Gayties Toys. So today's MIA 80s Ladies is easily my favorite. We're starting off strong here, largely because we have a lot of content, a lot of information, which isn't the norm, but also just the character and the franchise. I am obsessed with Bucky O'Hare. I have been for a long time. We'll get into just how long in a moment. And Jenny, the Aldebaran cat, the first mate, the pilot, her many hats she wears on the show, is obviously my favorite character from that franchise. She's from a long legacy of cat women. Horny cat women. First, a little refresher on who Bucky O'Hare is. I assume a lot of people don't, in fact, know him because he was sort of in that group of anthropomorphic animals that were a response to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In Bucky's case, that's absolutely true. However, he was created by comic book legends Larry Hama and Michael Golden around 1978 and 79 in response to Star Wars, in fact. They didn't publish their comic until around 1984 in a very small independent company called Continuity. A side note on the characters themselves, they were clearly designed to be action figures. Each of them had pegs along the width of their belts that the guns would clip into. So Michael Golden and Larry Hama had all this in mind when they started off. Bucky O'Hare takes place in the Aniverse, basically a whole universe of walking and talking animals. And it's largely the mammals versus the toads. The toads are a really surprising critique of American culture, American consumerism, American expansionism. It was very biting in the comics, and it's something that they did keep in the cartoons. Now, when it comes to the toy line, this would have started by Hasbro in 1981, again, in response to Ninja Turtles, and it was sort of their surefire bet, and they seemed incredibly confident in Bucky's success. They had planned 3 waves, essentially. The first 2 were ready to roll, the third was well into development. And this is why we have so much information, because all of it leaked in the years since. Of course, in a very Hasbro move, particularly the early 90s, Jenny, Bucky O'Hare's first mate, pilot, a major character, and easily the most powerful of the characters, was basically ready to roll for Wave 1, but they decided to push her to Wave 2. In fact, a lot of Wave 2 have since escaped the factory, and in fact, Jenny has quite a few different carded and loose options out there, between prototypes, between her original back metal armor, and later what seems to be her kind of more matte gray armor that they were going to release with the line. Based off of all the action figures and photos that we've seen, Jenny's design was very unique. The entire line was 5 POA, however, because her head, and especially her hair, were so big, they had to use her legs and tail as a tripod just to stand her up. This would have been interesting to see how they might have mashed her into the proposed ship they were building, which she would, of course, pilot. The line itself died a quick death long before Jenny could ever come out. Most people point the blame squarely on the Toad Air Marshal, who is the ultimate peg warmer. That guy's still on pegs to this day. He was packed grossly more than any other character, including Bucky himself. So most toy stores had rows upon rows of Toad Air Marshal, and nary a single Bucky. So that signaled to the stores the line was defective. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And so we had a great line, a great concept, and no lady to go with it. So I, of course, did not purchase. I did not participate, and I didn't expect anything to come of it. That is until around 2005, when mini-mates were all the rage. Instead of actually making real figures, they made blocky figures. And in 2005, Shocker Toys had proposed a Bucky O'Hare line, including Jenny in the first wave. However, that just died on the vine, and no one ever heard of it, and no one really cared. That all changed, however, in 2017 when Boss Fight Studio announced one of their first major brands that they were producing figures of, and that was Bucky O'Hare, including first mate Jenny, who came out, of course, in the first wave, because Boss Fight knows when to correct a wrong. Boss Fight also included an astral projection Jenny, which was a translucent figure and, amongst all the repaints, probably the most common sense of the bunch to do. Boss Fight later also made another character, the only other female in the line, that was the rival to Jenny's affections for Bucky. a certain slut we will get to. Much like Hasbro before them, Boss Fight did seem to have a lot of confidence in the line and had grander plans. However, eventually Continuity Comics did pull the plug and the license expired. Now, all that said, I'm thrilled we got not only a Jenny action figure, but a fantastic Jenny action figure. And I, as someone who has commissioned a 3D modeler and a painter to create a vintage style one, this is perfect. The Boss Fight figures do fit in perfectly with the vintage Hasbro ones, so even though Boss Fight didn't complete the full crew, you can get a really great cast amongst them. And that wraps up today's MIA 80s ladies, in this case, an 90s lady. And she is, of course, one of my favorite characters, so it's been great to get her, but on top of that, we got a great figure that would be hard to top. And so this really is a good news story. We're not always going to get that, and we're not always going to have that much information, but this is really one of the more interesting cases that I find, in the sense that we do have a full deck of cards to work with on what happened and why. So if you liked the video, make sure to like, comment if you have any questions, and I will see you next time.